guys, welcome back to my second interview for my channel Stealing from the Future. Uh, I hope all you guys are absolutely safe and sound in your homes. I thank you for the support you have shown me till date, and I would be requiring more. So, today I've got a guest who is very multi talented. She is a psychology student, she's a podcaster, she's into literature, she's into animal activism. She's an environmentalist. She's a performer. She's an aspiring actor, model. She is now turning a director. Whew. All of this at her third year of college. Can you believe it? So much achievement in so less time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me welcome a guest for this afternoon, Ms. Dona Roy.
Hi, Shomo.
Hi, Dona.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are
How is
you?
it going? I'm fantastic. Just give me a second. I'm just gonna
Namaskar.
adjust. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. Namaskar. And I'm just trying to adjust this. Camera.
Yeah, your
One second, if I can do this. Somehow I'm just trying to adjust this. What should I do? Okay. Can you give me a? No, you should not. Okay. Just give me a second.
yeah.
Is this okay now?
Yeah, it's fine. Absolutely fine. Yeah, you're there. You're
Can
absolutely
you hear
fine.
me?
Yeah,
Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you.
All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So
Okay.
নমস্কার কেমন আছো?
নমস্কার। Absolutely, I'm fine. আমি ভালো আছি। তুমি ভালো আছো?
আমি দারুণ আছি।
Oh, okay. Donna, your video is
Can
getting
you?
cut.
I am there. I mean, I have not done anything for any disruption to happen.
Donna, can you hear us?
I can
Okay,
hear
I
you. I
think
can hear you.
people she's gonna be right back.
What is happening? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you
Yeah,
hear
Donna,
me?
you're back? Yeah.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
back.
I can hear you. Okay, fine. So, folks, there was just a small, Wi-Fi problem, but you are back, and there we go. Yes. So, Donna,
Yeah.
I was just telling the folks that you have achieved so much in so less time. So let's connect back. We had a small technical error. Let's forget about that. Donna, right to you. So much achievement in so
Yeah.
less time, and then we'll get on with the questioning. Yeah. So how
So
could
much
you do it?
achievement,
I'm
so
so
less
interested.
time. Okay. Okay. So first of all, this is live and I'm really nervous. So if I say something or if I just freeze, please bear with me. Second of all,
Absolutely, no problem.
I think it's kind of a journey and it has just begun. It started with my mother, who is a performer, who is a singer, and I started performing with her on stage, and that too impromptu. I was not told what I'm supposed to do, and after she would be done performing, she would just throw me on the stage and say, "Do whatever you want to do." And the only thing that I was good at, and I think I still am, is dancing. And I would start dancing, and I would get praises, and then she said, "Okay." So you are good at that. So let's put you into a dance school. So I got into a dance training academy when I was 4 or 5, and then I trained in Bharatanatyam. I finished the training on that, and then I went on to train in jazz, hip hop, contemporary. I think a total it would be 1 and 5 dance forms throughout my schooling. So I did that, and then I started getting a lot of modeling opportunities, which I was not allowed to do being a Bengali. We all know our first priority is studies, so education. So my dad was like, no, you cannot do that. First, you have to finish your education and then you have to do all these things. So I didn't do. And then I got International Fashion Week when I just finished school, and I went for that. And I walked there. My mother was there on the front row, and you can imagine when you're walking the stage and International Fashion Week, and your mother is sitting right there in like the front row, and it's just amusing to that moment was surreal. And from there, I started writing. I When I joined college, it was literature. As I just told you before, I just repeat that. So what happened was, it's a very funny story that I have. At first, I joined a different college as a so I was not getting the subjects that I wanted. So I thought, okay, let me just go for whatever subjects I'm getting. So I went for philosophy, and I studied philosophy and psychology for 1 year, and I dropped out. And the reason for me dropping
Oh,
out of there, yeah, I dropped out of that college after 1 year. After 1 year of religiously studying philosophy because I loved it and psychology, I dropped out of there, and I thought, and the reason for that was very stupid. I don't want to even get into that. And then again, the next year, the second year, which was supposed to be my second year, again I joined college, and this time I got literature and psychology, and I fell in love with literature. And then my teachers were extremely supportive. I started writing poetry, I started writing stories, which my teachers would, send to these journals, international journals and national journals, my poetries and everything. And then I thought, okay, if I can write poetry, if I can write stories, why can I not write a script? And I wrote a script, and I did a short film, and that's how it's going. And now I thought, okay, so during this
okay.
pandemic, I thought, let's just get into the podcasting bit. And that was also a crazy idea. I was watching this really interesting, based on literature, I was watching this series where this lady was talking about podcasting. I did not know what podcasting was by then, at that point of time. And then I read a little about it and I started doing podcasting. So right now, what I'm doing is I have done modeling when I was a kid. Now I'm doing dancing. Obviously, I'll always be a dancer. I think I'll be eternally a dancer because that's how the entire thing started. And now I am writing, now I'm directing, now I am acting also, and now I'm singing also. So quite a few things right now happening
Brilliant.
thanks to the
Brilliant.
pandemic.
That you mentioned acting.
Yeah.
As you mentioned acting, any what are the
Hmm.
projects you're looking at? Any projects that would interest us?
Yeah. So the thing is, uh, I wanted to be my own boss. I don't know if that makes sense, but I wanted to be my own boss. So I
Oh,
wanted to produce my own things. So I turned producer. I'm going to turn producer with
oh,
my next project. My mother is going to co-produce. Thing is that she's going to produce. I'm just going to put my name. I don't have the money. So
okay.
I've turned producer. I will be directing it, and I will be making. Right now, there are two short films that are in the pipeline. We are already in the pre-production stage of it, and both the short films are about a woman's journey. One is the external journey. One is a very dystopian kind of a story, and the second one is the inner conflict, the inner journey of a woman, from dreaming to dreams being shattered and then again believing again. So I thought that if I am going to produce, I might as well produce something which would be good content, which would be good storytelling. Otherwise, there's no point of just running around the trees and calling it art.
Oh, that's really interesting. That's really nice. All the best to you, Donna. So
Thank you.
coming back, yeah, coming back to our questions today. let us first get on with the questions. It's like a lot of interesting questions on the climate change, the issues that are facing us, on animal
Uh-huh.
activism, on cruelty to animals,
Hmm.
on
Yeah.
spirituality. So here you go. The first one. So as you're
Yes.
aware, Mother Nature has different types of flora and fauna, and
Hmm.
their contemporary ecosystems. So how is the ongoing global warming process
Hmm.
fabricated by us
Hmm.
destroying
Hmm.
these ecosystems? Your thoughts on that?
Okay. I have a lot of thoughts actually. So many thoughts the moment you ask that question. I have so many things happening that I am just blank. So tell me something. Um, what is in the entire ecosystem? Tell me, what do you care about the most? Let me start from there.
So, see, what I care about is, in our climate, the
Hmm.
nature should be carefully, we should coexist, coexist with
Yeah.
nature in a beautiful way. We should preserve our forests.
Hmm.
We should preserve
Hmm.
our reserves. The reserves
Hmm.
meaning the animals. We
Yeah,
should
yeah, the animals.
preserve the atmosphere around us so that there
Hmm.
is no catastrophe, so that there is no uh, uh, absolute shift in the climate, so that it
Hmm.
affects us, so it affects nature, so it affects anyone around us. We should be careful about that. At the moment, that thing is not happening. So I'll give you one
Okay.
example.
Yeah.
Some time back, one of my friends told me that the ozone layer that had got depleted, ozone layer that had a hole in it, uh, it's repaired. The hole has gone. The repairing has been done, and the ozone layer, that hole has again filled up. Now, I was elated. I thought, wow, that's a start. I mean, there might be many more of such news. But just a few days back, I got news that 30 years from now,
Hmm.
around the year 2050,
2050. Yeah.
you know, yeah, the Bay of Bengal, the water
Hmm.
levels might rise, and
Hmm.
because of the global warming, because of the ice caps melting. So the water level
Hmm.
that will rise will
Hmm.
eventually eat into the delta region and the
Hmm.
Sundarbans that has a lot of mangrove trees, which keeps away
Yeah.
the eroding seawater,
Most beautiful part of South.
is getting yeah is failing. They'll be failing that, and it will get submerged. And eventually, by 2050, Kolkata will get submerged partly underwater, and it's a horrific
Hmm.
incident. I mean, it's
Of
my
course, it's
hometown, it's your hometown.
my
It's
hometown. Yes.
so disheartening to get news like that. It's a prediction though, but it's kind of a possible reality. And because of deforestation, because of the industry, I think the submerge, the result may happen.
Hmm.
So yeah, any thoughts on that, Donna? Or if you would like to throw some light on that?
See, yeah, sure. So, thing is, the first thing that I would like to talk about is the word that you use, that is prediction. The moment we use the word prediction, what
Yeah,
happens is people start thinking that it is in the distant future, so you don't have to worry about it. But that's not the reality.
yeah,
The moment you say prediction, they'll be
absolutely.
like, okay, it's my generation, my son would be alive, and what happens to the next generation is not my concern. But that is not how it should work, correct? Also, one more thing that you
Yes.
just talked about, the ozone layer. So there are predictions that the entire thing would be repaired by the year 2050. But if if whatever is happening right now, be it deforestation, be it the extreme greenhouse emission and all of that, sorry, greenhouse gas emissions and all of that, there are extreme chances that not only Kolkata, but there would be a lot of countries and cities that would be completely underwater, completely submerged underwater. For example,
Yeah.
Netherlands. So Netherlands right now is, I think, 1 meter above sea level, but not at the entire place. Some places are submerged, and some places are still afloat. And they have built dikes, if you know what dikes are. They've built dikes and just to keep and dams to keep the water from getting into the city. That's not going to suffice after the sea level rises even further. So the point is, we have to do, not only Netherlands. There is Germany, there is Bangladesh, all of these places would be absolutely
Yes.
underwater. And Mumbai, most importantly, Mumbai, people, all the places that are coastal regions of, I mean, close to the sea, they would all be underwater if we don't do something about it. And I don't see anybody doing anything about it because, unfortunately, most of the authorities, people who are in charge, do not even think that it is an actual problem. They think it's a hoax. That's the most unfortunate part of it. In fact, I was watching. I don't want to take names. I don't want to take the name of the country even. But I was watching. There was this whole meeting, and they were speaking about climate change. They were speaking about the policies that they can embrace to do something about the climate change. But they were okay with talking about fossil fuels. They were okay with all of that. But the moment they were told that you have to cut back on the meat consumption, you have to do something on the meat um, industry, there was just an immediate denial of it, as if that's not even a problem. But that is the biggest problem. That is, a meat industry is the, I think, the third largest uh, contributor to the emissions that is happening right now, the greenhouse gases and the climate change. So people do not even take that seriously. People think that it is not even something that should be taken. This is actually, psychologically speaking, I'll tell you what happens. The thing is, the moment I tell you something, which has to be like you have to take an immediate action on this. For example, say if I tell you that you have to stop eating meat right now, or there's a climate change happening right outside your window and you have to do something about it. The moment I tell you this, and there's an irony in this, you will be guilty or you'll be afraid, and you would want to dissociate from the entire idea. And that's a
Yeah.
psychological fact. And so then
Yes.
they try to find out how can we try to make people attentive. How can we make people, I mean, how can we make people care about these things which are actually happening? Because the entire point is, the moment you tell them something that is like, this is immediate, this is something that is happening right now outside, and they'll be like, okay, this is too much, I can't take this, I can't take this. So what should we do then? So
That's the
then
question. Yeah.
some of the what happened was, there was a experiment that happened where, instead of telling them that you have to do something about it and there is something happening, they started a social experiment where they said that, for example, electricity. The experiment was done with electricity, energy consumption. So they said that you have to, so there would be an entire list of all the houses, say in your building. There are all the flats and houses, and every time the electricity bill would come, it'll show your neighbor's energy consumption and your energy consumption. And if you, and there would be a board which would be like a red for people who are not conserving any energy. Then there would be a green for people who are doing average, and then there would be a gold star for people who are doing more than, average, for to conserve the energy. And that way, people have. So the thing is, human beings are social animals, but at the same time, we have this competitive streak which comes out when need be. So they started conserving energy. People who were unlikely to conserve energy, they even started conserving energy, even the houses. And it was seen that the houses with the most amount of families, not singletons, but families, they started conserving
Oh,
energy the most. When they were told that this is what is going to happen if you don't conserve the energy, and there is a social experiment where everybody would see how much energy you are consuming, and there was a competition. And the moment there's a competition, we all want to win.
oh,
And yes, so that's how you try to change the mindset, by not telling people that you should be doing this, or you're going to die. Or there's another thing, uh, guilt. Guilt is another thing that comes into play when we talk about, for example, meat consumption or something like that. And the reason we have to understand
yes, yes.
why people feel guilty about it is because the only time you feel guilty is when you can do something but you don't want to do something. This is something. Have you realized it?
Yes.
If I tell you that,
Yeah,
are
I
you
have realized him, but
no, in terms of anything, for example, anything that you think that you can do, but you're not doing it. And if I am the one who is doing it, and if I tell you that this is something that you can do because I'm also doing it, would you feel guilty, or would you? What would you feel? What would the feeling be?
you see, if something you're requesting me to do, if I feel that there is a wrong thing to do, I may give my opinion that this may not be the right thing to do. But
No,
if
no, no.
if I
Let
am
me.
compelled to do it,
eh, Can I interrupt you here? I
yeah, yeah,
mean,
yeah, please, yeah,
I mean, say that today I conserved energy in some form, but you didn't. Or for example, I took the uh, pool service, and you took your own car, and I took the pool service consciously to
yeah,
conserve energy, and you didn't. Correct? What will be the first
okay,
feeling that you
okay,
have in your mind? When I talk about the energy and how we should all conserve energy, and there's global warming happening, there's climate change happening, and then I say, oh, you took the car, and you don't know that we're all supposed to take the pool so that we can conserve energy, but you took your personal car. What would be the first thing? Would you be angry? Would you be guilty?
yeah, yeah.
Or would you be guilty and angry? Because I
I
did
would be
whatever
guilty
it's
and
my car,
angry.
I
I
did
would
it.
be No, no, no. I would be because I'm all for energy consumption. So if I were
Hmm.
unaware that or if I would
Uh-huh.
have heard you, I overheard you. I mean, or I would have ignored you. Then I would be guilty that
Hmm.
I drove my car and I didn't follow you. I mean, follow and go for the carpooling, which would have been much more
Hmm.
in terms of conserving energy.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would have felt guilty. But if I actually didn't get the news from you, maybe at the same time I would be a bit angry. Maybe why didn't I hear the
Hmm.
news? Or maybe even if I heard the news, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I go? So I would be a bit angry as
Hmm.
well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So the
this feeling of
anger.
guilt and anger at the same time,
Yeah.
yeah,
So the
same time makes people
anger.
escape from
Yeah.
such situations. Yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah,
the thing is, the guilt actually is what, I mean, generates the anger, which at first is inside your head, and then it
yeah,
can be thrown over to somebody else in front of you. So guilt is
absolutely.
equal to rage most of the times, not all the time, but most of the times. Guilt is equal to rage. So there is something called cognitive dissonance. So you, for example, you just said that you care about the energy consumption. You care about the energy consumption, right? Energy conservation, sorry.
Yes,
Yes. And then you use your car, your personal car instead of the pool car. Yes.
yes,
So here there is this thing which is conflict of beliefs. You believe something, but you are doing something
yes,
else. So what happens is when I charge you
correct.
that you use your car, in your head you're like, I care about the energy, but I use my car. Now what do? I have to say something, and then it's rage,
Yes,
and you start shouting. So coming back to the point, this is what is happening with the authorities right now when it comes to the meat production, the meat farming, and all of that. This is what is happening. I don't like to call it meat. I like to call it animal flesh, because that's what it is. It's not meat. Because the thing is, have you ever
yes.
read the have you ever read the definition of meat? The word meat.
Sorry, can you repeat your question? I couldn't hear you. You can repeat your question.
I'm
Yeah.
saying, have you ever, read or looked for the definition of meat?
Not really, but yeah, I obviously when I have read about meat, it's about animal flesh, whether it's meat of
Right.
a goat, meat of any other animal like a cow, or a bird like a chicken. It's more meat word is more associated with the definition of the flesh of the cow or the goat, rather than a bird. But yeah, but the actual meaning of it is the flesh of an animal or a bird. So yeah,
So when we say meat, we mean meat, which is any any portion of food, any particular food which is not liquid is meat. So everything that you eat which is not liquid is actually meat. But when you're
Donna,
talking
should you call any food which is not liquid meat? Because there are a lot of food which is not meat, but
Mhm.
it's on the vegetables, or you call
Solid
pulses,
food
or
is
yeah,
solid food.
solid.
For
Uh,
example, tofu. For example, the insides of a coconut, that is all meat. We call it coconut meat.
yeah, yeah,
So
correct.
that is meat. But what we do with the animals, that's flesh. That's flesh eating. We're eating the flesh because they have blood, they have the nervous system, they feel the pain, they have everything that we have. That is the reason we do these horrific experiments on them, right? So that is not meat eating, that is flesh eating. So
Okay.
coming back to the point, again, I have this thing about going round and round. So coming back to the point, the authorities are not even, given the fact that this is the third biggest reason why the climate is changing, the authorities don't even want to acknowledge the fact that this is happening, that this is one of the reasons. This is even one of the reasons, even though the truth is, the fact is, it is the third largest reason why the climate is changing because of this is one of the reasons for global warming, but nobody wants to acknowledge it. Even in the developing countries, that's the biggest problem.
Yes.
So the human destruction in I mean, whatever we are doing to the ecosystem, be it through meat consumption, be it through deforestation, be it through logging, be it through everything that we're doing, we're overfishing, and there would come a day when the targeted species of fish won't be there; they would go extinct. And what happens is when you overfish, you are fishing what you're targeting for, but at the same time there would be sea turtles, there would be other fish that would come into the net, even if you don't intend to catch them.
Okay.
So they also get affected, they also get killed.
Okay. Okay.
So the
Okay.
thing is, in every possible, whatever possible way we
Oh,
can, we are ruining the ecosystem, be it the oceans, be it, in fact, uh, when there is a lot of carbon emission in the atmosphere, what happens is the ocean water also absorbs some of it. Because of that, our coral
yeah.
reefs, if you know about the coral reefs, which is home to so many other marine life,
Yes.
that
Yes.
is getting
Yeah.
eroded.
Yeah.
That is dying. But there was a good news that somewhere
Correct.
in Australia, there were deep sea divers because of this pandemic. There is no tourism right now. So because of the pandemics, there were some deep sea divers in Australia who tried to um, relocate the coral reefs and tried to restore it wherever they could. So the thing is that we all know what's happening. We all know the reasons. We have been to school. In the fourth standard or third standard, we have studied what is global warming, what is the greenhouse effect, what are the ways we can ruin the ecosystem. We had all studied that. The thing is that we have forgotten it. The thing is that some of the people
Absolutely.
who are authorities, the main people who are the decision making people, they think that it's not even real and it's something that is in the distant future. Some people even in fact think that it's not, climate change is not a man-made thing, which is the biggest, like, what, it is a man-made thing.
It is.
It cannot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a debate where there was this scientist, and he was uh, and there was a room full of skeptics, and they all believed that climate change is not man-made. They thought this happens, and this happens every time and all of that, but this is not true. Climate change is
That's
man-made,
scary.
and what we are doing
Yeah.
is, there is so much. It's like, the lies is, in fact, the fact that these authorities are saying that it's not real. There is also a reason for that. You know that there are the conservatives who are funded. There has been efforts to defund every uh, department that has to do with the environment in a lot of countries. I don't want to name the countries, but in a lot of countries. And what has happened was these efforts were funded by the coal industry, by the oil industry, by the meat industry, by the big corporations that sell meat. And it's scary. Everything that you see today on TV, the health benefits of meat, the health benefits of the hamburger that you're eating, and all of that, it's all not valid. You have, in fact, I'll give you a mind boggling example. There was a time when they came up with cigarettes, and we all know
Okay,
what
cigarettes.
cigarettes are. Yes, this is a mind boggling experience. I mean, not experience, sorry. This is something that I really got to know what we were that stupid. So they came up with cigarettes, and they had to sell it somehow. Today we all know what cigarettes are, right?
Yeah,
It's not something that anybody should have in their hands. But when they came up with some cigarettes, they had to sell it. They had to market it somehow. So the idea,
yeah,
just guess what did they do? Your wildest guess. Guess. Sorry.
yeah. Okay.
I'm
So
asking you. Just guess. What is your wildest guess? What did they do to market the cigarette so people consume it?
they market the cigarettes for people to consume. What did they do?
Yes. What did they do? Wildest guess.
So cigarettes, what I feel is, I mean, it gives someone that smoky high. So what did they do? My guess would be uh, they would obviously, introduce them through some industrial meats to the prospective clients that they have through
Mhm,
some meats. Like, you
mhm,
have, like you go to a party, you get some token of uh, parting gift.
mhm,
Maybe they would have done so. That sort
mhm.
of a thing. Just a wild guess. Maybe cigarettes as a if you go to a meet, you get a token gift just for visiting that meet. Maybe that's how they were promoting that stuff.
So it's a good guess, but they went a level further. What they did was
Okay.
when they came up with cigarettes, they had to sell it to the masses. They had to sell it to the world, like Coke. We all know that it's something that nobody should consume, but they have this idea of reaching the remotest part of the world, Coke.
Okay.
The same
Okay.
way, with cigarette, they wanted to sell it to the masses. They wanted everybody to know about it, everybody to have it. So they
Okay.
bought newspaper pages, the entire page, and they had the picture of the cigarette, and then they said how this benefits your health. Can you imagine?
Oh my goodness. Anybody saying benefits of cigarettes? My goodness.
Yes,
Benefiting your health?
in
My
fact,
goodness.
and they went to the extent and said that this is something that can help you with cancer. If you consume this,
Oh.
it can help you with cancer. Years back when cigarettes started its journey.
Okay. Oh,
So this is
so you
how the corporations work.
think.
Be it
Yeah.
Coke,
It's-
be it cigarettes, be
Yeah.
it, in fact, I'll tell you another example with the animal flesh industry. So if you see a lot of these apparent researchers or bodies, research bodies, agencies, they would tell you that you have to have milk or because that's a part of a balanced diet. You have to have some sort of animal flesh because that's a part of balanced diet. But the truth is that all these research bodies or the researchers are funded by the big corporations that sell meat or that produce meat. And that is the only reason they're saying all these things. At the and they are putting our health to risk by saying all of these things just
No,
because they
that's
want
not.
to get the money. So you have
I
to
think
really get
all of them have the
into
Have their motives. Yes, have their
Yeah, so
motives.
if you go to, I think I'm not I don't remember exact. I think the Cancer Society of a certain country. There's a huge cancer society of research center in a certain country where they say that you have to have milk, you have to have this, and when you go to their page and you look into it, you will see all their sponsors are the meat production corporations, these huge meat production corporations, or McDonald's, or I don't want to name, but so many of them that sell fast food, that sell that
Yeah,
produce meat. So every information that you're getting today, you cannot trust it. Even the doctors. Did you know that?
yeah, yeah,
Did you
absolutely.
know?
I mean, doctors, hospitals have become a racket. So, yeah,
But
yeah,
you the most horrifying thing that I got to know recently is that doctors in their 4 years of education, in no other no country, be it India, be it America, be it UK, any country, in their 4 years of studies, they are not taught nutrition for more than 10 to 12 hours approximately. In 4 years
10
of
to 12,
studies, there
10 to 12
are hours,
hours.
hours approximately. There could be, it could be more, but nothing like an entire month and something like that. So they're not taught nutrition. In 4 years of education as a doctor, you're not taught nutrition, which is the most important part. So
That's
when people say that the doctor is saying this, the the biggest horrifying thing is that doctor is not qualified enough to tell you what to eat
that's really
because they're
horrifying.
not taught.
Forget
They're
about
not taught.
doctors, for a while. Forget about doctors for a while. I just the one thought comes to my mind while we are saying what is horrific and what is not. There are certain, people, some
Mhm.
corporates or corporation. I wouldn't want to name them either. There's a belief that cigarette will help in fighting COVID.
There was a
you
precedent that
know,
said that you can have some kind of disinfectant and you would not get COVID or something. And people also had and people died. That's
yeah.
happened.
But anyways, while we are at this meat topic, let's come back to the next question, which is actually very much pertaining to the topic which we're discussing now. In
Mhm.
fact, it'll take it forward. You see, in spite the Amazon going down in a plume of smoke, destroying the biodiversity there, the thing that happened last year, the rampant increase in the meat production, which is being supplied by Brazil to America,
Mhm.
raises eyebrows on animal cruelty and farming just to keep America the largest meat consuming country afloat. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Again, my first thought is people are hypocrites.
Yes. I mean,
And
what can I say?
see, let us come start from the beginning of it. So why did this whole deforestation happen in Brazil? What happened was there was a time, I'm going to give a small little summary. I'm not going to get too much into it. But what happened was the people were living in Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo. And then they
Yeah.
were told by the government that why don't you move to the rainforest and I'll give you free land. The government says that I'll give you free land. You move there and you start farming there
Hmm.
so that to help the economy of the country. And what happened was people moved. There was a entire what do you call it? A communications road and everything that was built so that people can stay there, people can live comfortably there. What happened was they started with meat production. So they were given land and they cleared that land and they started producing meat. They started raising cows, and I would not say cattle because it's cows. And uh, they
Yeah.
started raising cows, and that's then they started raising. Then they started raising, not raising, sorry. Then they started growing soy. Soy is something that is used as food for most. livestock. Okay, so
Okay.
what happened was Brazil started became one of the biggest producers of meat, beef, cow, cow meat, and then it also became one of the biggest producers of soy. And not only was it happening within the country, it was also happening. It was exporting soy to all the other countries because the meat demand increased. Now,
Okay.
now we have to look at the psychological aspect of why meat consumption increases. There has been studies and there has been experiments and it has showed that every time there is a increase in income, meat consumption increases, which means that in
Yes.
our heads,
Yes.
basically, which means in our heads that the moment we have more money, we think that meat is the way to go. If we have money, the
Yeah.
first thing that we should do is have meat because that's what rich people do or something like that. I don't know. So
Yeah.
that is what
Yeah.
happens. Now in America, what has happened is they have subsidized the meat industry more than the whole foods industry, which is fruits, which is pulses, which is vegetables, all of that. They have subsidized the meat industry more than that.
Yeah.
And it is so what happens is, for example, even if you, and it's a helpless situation because even if you say are a vegan, you don't, and you say, I don't pay for cruelty, I don't pay for murder. But the thing is, you're paying your tax and your tax is paying
Yeah.
for that. So there was a
Yeah.
discussion that people wanted to put a tax on it. But when there was, every time there's a conversation around this, since we're talking about Brazil, most of the meat goes to South America. So every time there was a conversation about putting taxes on meat, all the bodies, everybody who was there in that room, who had the capability of making the decision, dismissed it, which I was saying earlier that somebody said it's a hoax. Somebody said, well, I like cheeseburgers. You can Google and find out who said which one. And somebody said, this is, we cannot live without this and we have to. But people are not exactly paying the right amount, whatever it takes to produce meat, they're not paying that because of the fact that there is a huge subsidy on meat production. What has happened is uh, in a developed country like US, what has happened is the developing countries they cannot even produce their own food, their own crops because there's no money. The subsidy the
Correct.
had put a depression in the amount of the crops in the developing countries. So the subsidy increases in the developed countries, the amount of the money that you spend for the crops, it decreases in the developing countries and creates a depression.
Yes. Yes.
So you
Yes.
so in the developing countries you have to import the food from other countries, and because of which there's world hunger today. Hunger today. So
That's the problem.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, this is that, and also at the same time, if you're talking about the rainforest that we're talking about, the rainforest you have to understand that it is not just Brazil or America that is going to get affected if the rainforest is not there. It is the entire world, the entire globe that will be affected because 20% of oxygen comes from there. Not that so it's not that there would be any dearth of oxygen even if there is no rainforest, but 20% of the oxygen comes from there. But the most important thing is the fact that if the rainforest is not there, there will be more carbon emission in the greenhouse gases would be
Absolutely.
more in the atmosphere. What will happen? The sea levels would rise. And as you said in the first question, that a lot of countries would be, and a lot of cities would be underwater, not partially, completely underwater. So that is
Absolutely.
one. It also has numerous amounts. Do you know that the rainforest has some species that nobody even knows about? Scientists do not know about it yet. And the fact is, they wouldn't even know about it if this is what is happening. So When it was before this, the current president, there was another president who was a little bit concerned about whatever was happening, whatever whatever was going on. Sometimes I stumble when I am speaking fast. I'm sorry. And
Well,
the environment minister took actions. There was strict forest code meaning that there was only a certain amount of land which would be used for agriculture, which would be used for animal murder, and then would be there would be another area of the entire land which would be protected. But when the
okay,
so cutting the long story short, when the new president comes in, he has defunded the entire protected there was a whole fund that was used sorry that was uh, established by the previous environment minister, which is now defunded, which is stopped. Same
okay.
happening in America. Defunded the environment uh, fund, whatever was there for the environment, for the conservation of everything, the climate and everything. It is defunded. So this is happening in not just Brazil. This is happening in the developed countries. That is the most crazy thing right now because we are all looking up to the developed countries, or the developing countries. We are looking up to them, and this is what they are doing. They're dismissing the fact that there is any climate change, dismissing the fact that there can be man-made climate change, and the financial aspect of it is horrifying in every possible way. So, if you ask me what my views are on it, the reason why I said that people are hypocrites is that even though those people that are in the offices they are dismissing the whole idea, we can do something about it. As I said, that
Yeah, absolutely.
meat consumption has increased because of
Yeah.
money. Even though in the US meat is the amount, if you can buy a hamburger for $4, but if you buy a fruit, it'll be $8 or $10 a fruit and hamburger. So this is the difference of price in a developed country, which is horrifying. So what we can do is,
So in a developed country, you're getting non-veg for lesser amount than a fruit or a vegetable. Is that?
yeah, because the meat is subsidized. Meat is being funded by the government,
That's
so you
quite
don't have to
intriguing.
pay the entire
Yeah,
price.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But for the fruit and vegetables, they're not giving even half of what they are. The funds that, if say they are putting 100 rupees in their meat industry, they're putting 2 rupees for their whole food industry. This is the difference. So people can buy fast food, people can buy hamburger easily, but they cannot buy what they really need, which is the nutrition that they need from plants and fruits, which they don't get because they can't afford it.
You know, there's a
So
school of thought that actually believes that if you don't consume poultry chicken,
your voice is
for yeah, if you don't consume poultry chicken for
there
quite
is a
some time,
disturbance in your voice.
is there? Can you hear me?
Now it's okay now.
Now it's okay. So there is a school of thought that says that if you consume poultry chicken for don't consume poultry chicken, stop consuming poultry chicken. I mean, within some time, I'm not sure about you know the exact uh, time frame. If you don't consume till that time, we would be suffocated with poultry, uh, and it would to take over the world, poultry chicken, and we would die. So it's important to consume poultry. Now that's non-vegetarian food. Are you there, Donna, or is there a technical error once again? Or I think, folks, she's just coming back. I'll just once again ask her the same question. Let's wait. Folks should be coming back. The internet connection nowadays are really bad, especially just after the monsoons. Yeah, Donna, you're back.
Yeah, there's a problem with the Wi-Fi. It's not working, so I just switched on the mobile data.
That's cool. That's cool. So yeah, we were talking about the meat production. So yeah, what my question was, there is a school of thought. I just repeat that, folks. I'm so sorry. Coming back, there is a school of thought that believes that if we don't consume poultry for some time, then
Mhm.
eventually poultry chicken will grow so much that it'll suffocate us. And we will cease to exist, and poultry will be the all over the world. You know, your thoughts on that? Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing is that I'd be very happy if the world is taken over by birds instead of human beings, because right now the world is taken over by human beings and we're not doing so well. Do you agree?
Okay.
And
Okay. Yeah, we should coexist. I mean, birds
we should.
should be
I'm
there.
getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm saying, today the unfortunate thing is that if I have a little sister or a little brother, and there is a man in a room, not even a man, a strange person in a room, and then there is a strange bird or any, okay, strange bird in a room, I'd be more comfortable with the strange bird instead of the strange person, because that's how the world is right now.
It is.
That is one. That is one. So I don't mind if the birds take over, because I think we are not doing so well with the global domination that we can't handle too much power, as we can see. But the second thing is, do you know why there is today, how many hens are there in each farm in maybe your locality from wherever you buy chicken?
See, I mean, nowadays it's all online. Uh, you order it, it comes. Earlier, we used to go to these local shops wherein each local shop would have around what do you call around 100 chickens live over there.
With chickens.
You had the option of either going for a live chicken or you had the option of going for a pre-cut chicken. But each of these shops, let me tell you, has around 100. Now they take stocks, 100 chickens. Again, something is replenished, some stock is replenished, around 50 is replenished. They get back 50. So yeah, that's what that's
Right.
that's what I yeah
Do you eat eggs?
that's what I look at. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So how do eggs come? How do they produce eggs?
So the eggs are hatched. So I mean, how the chicken lies on this thing. I mean, the eggs are hatched after they sit for hours,
Hmm.
and then after hatching, the eggs are then taken from there, and they are also marketed, and you buy eggs separately from chickens.
So once the eggs are hatched, what happens to the chicks, if I may ask?
So if you buy the eggs and you break it and you turn it into a poach, the chickens are no longer there.
So do you know what happens to the male chicks?
The male chicks, okay,
Yeah, I can't hear you.
yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I presume even the cock is not involved in all this. So they are being bought and being consumed. Uh, Your thoughts?
Okay. So the fact is that there is always, whatever the product is, there's always a supply and demand. So the reason there are hens out there, the reason there are so many hens in every farm is because there is a demand. And that's the reason they have to meet
Yeah,
that demand with supply. So I'll tell you what happens there. They have to be force bred for
yeah,
our consumption. So
absolutely.
if the demand stops, what happens?
Demand
Say
stops, then obviously,
everybody
yeah,
stops eating eggs, everybody stops eating chickens. What happens?
obviously the breeding will stop, and the consumption
The
will
breeding
stop,
would stop.
and
The consumption would stop, but the breeding would stop. And the moment the breeding would,
yeah,
and why would the breeding stop? Because there is no economical profit from there.
profit from it. Yes, yes,
And when that stops, there are no more hens. I mean, there would be hens, but it won't be like they're taking over. See, the thing is, every time there is a human interference with nature, either
yeah,
either the species are going extinct, or there are so many in amount because for our consumption. There are either two ways.
absolutely,
There is no in
yeah,
between in that. So the moment we interfere with anything, this is what happens. Either
yeah,
the animals would go extinct, which a lot of species are going extinct, and most of them are there. I think there is a chance a certain percentage of species are supposed to be go extinct by 2030, 2030. So
yeah,
you're coming back to your question that they would be taking over the world and all of that. It's just a question of supply and demand. If there is no demand, there won't be
yes.
any production.
Any breeding? Yeah.
There won't be forced bred, and there won't be any taking over the world. But personally, I'd be very happy if chickens take over because, as I said, they're not doing so well.
Good, good. That's no, no. We should look at this economical aspect of it, and
Mhm.
that's how we should, prevent from, if there's no
Mhm.
consumption, obviously there won't be any demand, and there won't be any breeding.
And
Good, good
I'll
one,
also
good one.
let you know what I'll
Yeah,
also let you know what happens to the male chicks. So once
yeah.
the hen is forced bred, when it hatches the eggs, what happens is because the male chicks cannot give birth or all of that, they are they are the day they're born, the moment they're born, maybe in an hour, they're put into a grinder alive, or
Oh,
they're drowned. So they take a big drum or something, they put water into it, and then they put all the male chicks into it, and they drown right after their
oh,
birth. Or they are uh, there is fire, they start a fire, and then they put the chicks alive on the fire, and that's how they treat the male chicks right after their birth. And the most
oh,
usual process is grinding them alive. So
oh.
this is what happens, and there has been laws to kill them in a more humane way. I don't understand how can we kill any human, any sentient being in a humane way that does not want to die. I mean,
Hmm.
if you are there at my mercy and I tell you that, I want to kill you, but hear me out. I'm going to kill you in a humane way. Tell me, how do you want to die? Do you want a sweet poison, which won't even be bitter, and I'm going to give it to you, and you're going to have it, and you're going to die quickly without feeling any pain? That you don't want to die, but I am finding out a humane way to for you to die, for to kill you. Is that fair? I mean, fair enough
No,
for you?
no,
So how is it
no.
fair enough for the other beings who feel the
The
exact
animals.
amount of
Yes.
pain, the exact
Yeah.
amount? They have the same nervous system as us. They feel the exact amount of pain. They are intelligent creatures. They have, in fact, with hens, with pigs, with cows, they're excellent mothers. They like to nurture their younger ones, and they don't get the chance to do that. There's a huge horrifying history that I mean, not history, fact that happens. You know, there's a thing. I see a lot of people if I tell them, why don't you watch this documentary, they would be like, no, I can't watch this documentary. But if you can't watch the documentary, how do you participate in that actively every day? And in fact, you try to, um, I mean, what do you call, defend it.
Absolutely.
The whole thing is that, you watch a movie, and then if
Hmm.
there is a little dog and it gets killed, don't you feel sad?
Oh, I watched a lot of dog movies and I've had tears in my
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
even
shouldn't
yesterday I
say
was
more.
watching a
Yeah.
shark movie, and there was a little dog and it was about to die. It didn't die, but they showed for a moment that it died, and I was like, oh no, that should not happen.
Yeah.
But that is a movie, and just imagine the amount of sorrow that we feel when we see a dog die or a cat die in a movie. When you see the documentaries,
Hmm.
that is not even fiction, and the reality is even more horrifying than the fiction. What you see in the movies, I can tell you, the reality is 200 times more
And what is being
horrifying
showed.
than that. Yeah, if you see a documentary, which is facts, you don't get the footage of what is happening inside of an animal murdering site if if you don't have proper permissions, or sometimes activists, they get in and they have their secret cameras and they take the footage and they uh, upload it online for everybody to see, but it's illegal to do that. There was an instance. Let me share this with you. There was an instance where there was this guy who went to this pig farm where they were breeding pigs, and it was a slaughterhouse. And there was a little pig, small little piglet, and she was in line for the slaughter thing. So they were all in a line, and you would be amazed if you see they cry. They literally
Yeah.
cry. There are tears rolling down their eyes because they know what's going to happen.
Oh,
They have tears
so sad.
streaming down their eyes, and they're just standing there, little piglets, not even big ones, little piglets, and they're standing right there, standing for them to be shot in the head or whatever. And that guy took one of the piglets, and went home. And it and he gave her a bath, he gave her some toys, and she started playing with the dog, and it was like a little puppy. The piglet was like a puppy, and it was so intelligent, and was living happily with the man. But what happened was that man was arrested. The reason being that it was illegal for him to stop the murder. It was illegal for him to pick up the pig and take him home. He should have let that
Okay.
piglet die.
Oh,
So this is what is happening. These are the rules. Even in India, we have, I think, a fine of 50 rupees for cruelty against animals, and
yeah.
the animal activists are trying to change that, but we have a long way to go before that happens, because this 50 rupees or 100 rupees is something that was there years ago, and it has not changed. Nobody has bothered to even look into it, and today people are looking into it, but we don't know when that's going to change. And just imagine
Yeah.
what all you can do and get away with if it's just 50 rupees that you have to pay for it. That is
Yeah.
that
That's
is the
the
expense of life.
that's really really bad.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah,
this.
while we are on this, the animal topic, there is another question that actually, really, will interest you as well. Moving on, are animal rights prerogative? How
Yeah,
can we
of
as
course.
humans help in creating a better environment for them? How can we create a better environment for them
By
while we are
stop
on
eating
this?
them. By we just, the best thing that we can do is stop eating them, stop torturing them, let them be. The
Absolutely.
biggest help that we can do is to let them be. I don't even, I mean, I can elaborate on this, but the biggest thing that you can do for the animals is to just let them be, stop eating them. You don't know what happens with the cows. Even with the male cows, what happens is there's this thing where, so you know that they're raped and then they are inseminated forcefully till they drop dead. For I think so. The natural lifespan of a cow is 20 years, 25 years, and the lifespan in a farm, in a slaughterhouse, not in a slaughterhouse where the dairy is there. There it is, I think, 6 months or 6 years or something like that. And then
Yeah.
you go, and what happens is when the cow gives birth, if it's a male cow, that male cow is the first thing is the cow gives birth, the babies are separated from the mother because we need the milk more than the babies
Yeah.
apparently, and the babies are kept in a different place and the mother is there because we need the milk of the mother. So okay, the first question is, I'll get back to this. When you drink milk, do you think about
Yeah.
these things?
Primarily, when you drink milk, you don't. Yes. Yes. You don't think about these things, but we should. We should.
Not only should we see, the thing is that I say that I'm an ethical vegan, being which means that I care about the environment, I care about the animals, but being ethical also means that you care about the human beings who are doing this. So
Yeah.
to that interest, I have to say that when you are having milk, do you think that you are having milk which is doing you any good?
Well, health benefits are there, but that is the reason why people have it. But then you got to give it a prerogative thought. What
So
harm you're
what are the health
causing
benefits?
to the source. Milk has benefits, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's be a lot of benefits that may come from drinks which are similarly suitable, but milk has that benefit of nutrition, which primarily from a very young age gives you the belief, and especially in India, it gives you the strength, gives you the immunity, gives you the protein that you require to carry out your various physical everyday day-to-day activities. But as you said, there are other ways, which is vegan kind of ways to have replacement stuff which can give you the same result. So yeah, but we don't think so because we are embedded with that belief from a childhood, especially in India, as I said.
Now let me get to the let me tell you, debunk this.
Yeah.
The thing is, I told you about this cigarette ad.
Yeah.
So the fact is, milk is similar to that. So they're marketing it in a certain way so that you think that there are benefits, even with the milks that you get in those packets. The
Yeah.
first thing is there is um, pus in that milk.
Yeah.
There are hormones in that milk. There is antibiotics in that milk, which also
Antibiotics. Yeah.
gives you a resistance to antibiotics when you have it. Consuming meat, that is another thing. Consuming meat gives you a resistance to antibiotics because these animals are just fed antibiotics. So when you have them, and then you have some kind of some disease or a problem, a health issue, if you take antibiotics, it won't work on you because your body creates the antibodies because of the huge amount of antibiotics that you're consuming indirectly through these animals. So in that milk, there is a huge chance for women. There is a huge chance for breast cancer, and the biggest thing is doctors say that it's very good for your um, bones, right?
It is calcium. Yeah. That I
Calcium.
forgot that. Yeah. Yeah. Calcium. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there are studies that show that it actually causes osteoporosis. It
Okay.
corrodes. Yeah, it's just the opposite of what's happening. Whatever is being claimed about milk, it's just the opposite. See, the thing is that everybody who's a vegan were not born vegans. I was not, and I was a huge believer. I'll share a very funny story. When I was 10 or 12 years old, my mother had a vegetarian friend, and he and I always had this thing that If you are saying that animals have life and that is the reason you should not have them, then even plants have life. Then you should just go starve yourself, right? And that was my mentality for a long time. I used to have chicken twice a day or something like that. So none of the vegans that are vegans today are born vegans. Most of them, 99% of them, became vegans. So every argument, every uh, research or every benefits that we know as well. But the thing is that we have done more research. So the point is we have to do our research. We have to educate ourselves. Right now, we are not educated. Right now, whatever we know is from the marketing strategies that have been fed to us, conditioned, which I told you about the cigarette. Those were fed to us. People actually believed it because there was a huge front page ad that cigarettes help you with cancer and all of that. And people believed it and started having cigarettes. Because today, if I tell you that this is a new product that I have come up with, and this is going to give you cancer for sure, are you going to have it?
No, if I get to know this is going to give you cancer for sure,
Yeah. I can
I
write it down to
will
you that
definitely not
if you
have.
have this, you're gonna have it. You have to. I mean, if you have this, you're gonna get cancer. This is a new product that I have come up with. Are you gonna have it? Are you excited about this?
Yeah,
So the same
if
thing with
there's some. So yeah, yeah, yeah,
apparently that is the same
yeah.
thing that
Continue.
is happening with cows. There was a time. There will come a time when they have to tell you what the actual disadvantages are when it comes to
Yeah,
eating animal flesh or even drinking milk or all of that. And there are people who think that if I am a vegetarian, then it's done. I don't have to do much more. But then you have to understand that if you're a vegetarian, then you're consuming milk. If you're a vegetarian, then you're having eggs. Because apparently, I think eggs have been um, declared as a vegetarian product.
they call vegetarian if you have eggs. So there's a
No, apparently they have said that
vegetarian.
egg is a vegetable.
What
So
is it?
the thing is, yeah, they have apparently. My mother was saying it. I don't know if it's true, but I don't know. She just said that egg is a vegetable now. They have declared it somehow somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, that might be really new stuff because I think even 6 months back when I actually went out to a restaurant or maybe somewhere else, went somewhere, egg was always a part of the non-vegetarian diet, or maybe
That's
if
what
not
I
a
know.
non-vegetarian, it's a vegetarian diet. I mean, that's what. But yeah, I mean,
So that's what I know. But then
yeah,
you have to know that either you are having the flesh directly and you are paying for this cruelty. And if you think that you're a vegetarian and you're not paying for it, you are still paying for it. In fact, you're paying for it even more because in the egg and dairy industry, what happens? The thing is, you would know the dairy industry is the meat industry. What
yeah.
happens in the dairy industry is that they torture the cows for a while and then they send them for slaughter. And if you
Oh,
have the meat directly, then you're just having the meat directly. That's okay. But if you are a vegetarian and you're paying for milk, then you are just still, in fact, promoting an an even more cruel industry. So in every
oh,
possible way, you have you are just paying for it. If you have any questions with, okay, you are not a vegan, so if you have any questions with that you want to know about veganism or say what happens in these farms and why we shouldn't be eating or anything, any question that comes to your mind, please, I would like to listen to that because there are viewers who also would have these questions and I
yeah.
can answer
So,
them through you.
while we are at it, so here's this question: like, how does veganism help
Mhm.
ameliorate you physically and psychologically? You might have an answer to that. I mean, this is really intriguing to know. Going vegan, how can it, you know, affect you physically and psychologically? And there's a positive aspect to that, I guess.
Everything is positive about being vegan. First of all,
Yeah,
there is no guilt. There is no
yeah,
cruelty that you're paying for. That is the biggest
yeah,
thing. At the same time,
Yeah.
you're saving the planet, you're saving the environment, you're helping the environment,
Yeah.
not just saving it, you're helping it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're helping yourself. And physically speaking, I will tell you my experience and some of my friends who are vegan or who have turned vegan. And the first thing that you feel when you, if you, even if you try for 7 days, the first thing that you're going to feel is that you're going to feel more energy, you're going to feel lighter, you're going to be clearer in your head. The physical aspects are amazing. Now coming back to what I was talking about, the nutrition bit of it, physically speaking, the nutrition bit of it is that doctors are not taught about nutrition as
Yeah.
much as they should have been taught. So a doctor can tell you what you should not be having, but they cannot tell you what you should be having. Because in medicine, what happens is they are taught this, they have this reductionist behavior where they just see you for one um, disease that you might have, and they are going to only prescribe you some medicines which is going to help with just that disease, not your body, not the entire body. It's not going to reverse it, it's not going to cure you, it's only going to reduce your symptoms, the disease symptoms. For example,
Yeah.
if you have blood pressure,
Mm.
the doctor will
Yeah.
tell you you have to have the medicine forever. There's
Mm.
no stopping it. And you are also having medicines, which means that should be a cure, right? If you're having a medicine for something, you went to the doctor, you said, I have blood pressure, and the doctor gives you a prescription, the doctor gives you medicine, which means that the medicine should cure what you have, and you should stop
Yes.
having that medicine at some point.
Yes.
Otherwise, what
Yes.
is the point of
Then.
having the medicines? If it's not curing you,
Yeah.
what is the point of having the
Yeah.
medicine?
Exactly. It's not a good diagnosis then. Yeah.
But that is what the diagnosis is. With every doctor, if you go to any doctor, they will just say that this is what you should be having. But they will never say that this can cure you. But with nutrition, with right nutrition, if it's done right, it
Yeah.
can in fact reverse and cure some diseases. I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm never gonna
Yeah.
say you should eat this, you should eat that, even though I have done my research because I want to, for my personal benefit. But if you go to a good nutritionist, because you should
Yeah.
never go to a doctor and ask what you should eat. As I said, they're not taught
Yeah.
what they
Absolutely. I've had my
that
experiences. Yeah.
in 130 specializations that doctors have, not one
Yeah.
is nutrition.
You won't
That's
believe
mind
it.
boggling.
Yeah, that's mind-boggling. One of my doctors, I remember, I've been to him for whatever disease it is. Maybe it's a fever, maybe it's a bit of indigestion, whatever it is. Even if it's a throat pain, he tells me you should have your dinner by 6:30, and you should not have non-vegetarian at all. So I stopped going to him, because it cannot happen to me like that. I mean, just because of my diet, it cannot cure my fever. Just because of my diet, it cannot cure my uh, throat pain or cold. But yes, maybe if I have less of non-veg, more of veg, or even give up non-veg, maybe some of the diseases that are happening, some, not all, may not recur.
No, the point what I'm trying to make is that we again there's a conditioning that has happened that if anything happens, every household has uh, pills, be it supplement pills, be it some kind of pill for something. Right? Even you, I can write it down that your household also has that, especially being a Bengali family.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of medicines. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we have this mindset that if something happens, we have to just have medicines. And and the biggest issue in this is that we go to the doctors and the doctors are not even um, qualified enough to tell you what to eat.
Mm.
They're not
Yeah.
qualified enough. This is the word that I'm using. They're not qualified enough to tell you what you should be eating because they're
Mm.
not taught. The only thing that
Yeah.
they're taught is this happens. This is the medicine
Mm.
that you give, and this is and as I said, the reductionist mentality. But with nutrition, if done right, it can cure and reverse certain diseases that we have for which we normally usually pop pills for the entire life.
Mm.
So what we do need to do is go So how many of us go to a nutritionist? So we go to the doctor, but we don't ever go to the nutritionist. Do you? Have you ever been to a
We don't.
nutritionist?
We don't. I
We
mean,
don't go to a
yeah,
nutritionist because, and the wrong person, we ask for advices from the wrong person who is not even qualified. Just because he's a doctor who knows what has happened to you, he does not know what you should be eating because he has not been taught. He's not qualified enough. So we have to go to a nutritionist for it, and that nutritionist would give you a proper chart of how you can use whole foods to reverse and cure certain diseases. And you have to stop. Now coming to the, so this was the physical aspect where you go to a
yeah,
nutritionist and then you will understand how important nutrition is, which we don't pay attention to. Also,
absolutely, absolutely.
there's another idea that I have to debunk, which is that
Yeah,
people,
Donna,
when it,
just a sec, just a sec. I'll just put my phone on charging. So I'll just come back. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, yeah, just a sec. There you go. Yeah, come on, continue.
yeah.
Absolutely. So sorry, folks.
So
Yeah, yeah,
that's all right. So the other thing that I was saying is that
yeah.
whenever we talk about flesh eating, we talk about protein. If you have heard, a lot of people say that, oh, I cannot stop eating flesh because I have to get my proteins. But the fact is, the simple fact is, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, but this is something that I know from all the research that I have done before becoming a vegan, is that it does not matter the source of the protein. It is the protein that matters. And most of the proteins that you get from animals is actually coming from plants. So what happens is
Yes,
the plants are fed to the animals, and then in turn we have the animals. And that is the reason there is a world hunger, which is never going to go till the time we stop feeding the plants to the meat and we to the animals, and we directly feed these food to the children who are starving and dying somewhere in the world. Even
yes,
in India, we have that.
absolutely.
Even in Africa, all the developing countries where people are starving. So this whole idea
Yes,
is,
absolutely.
it's almost like, in fact, clean water, clean food, not even clean food, just food. We are
Hmm.
depriving an entire population of food just to have meat and say that I am getting my protein from it, which is not even true. You're not getting protein from it, you're getting protein from the plants, which the animals have been fed. So
Do
this is
do
also an ocean.
do you think freshwater fish can be considered to be part of vegetarian diet?
No kind of fish can be considered a vegetarian diet because at the end of the day, they're getting bred. At the end of the day, there's overfishing, and to stop that, as we all know, there's plastic in the sea. There are the nets that get stuck in the
Yeah.
water and they die, and all of that. So no amount of fish, be it freshwater, be it ocean fish, or whatever kind of fish, whatever kind of living being. And most importantly, it's not
Hmm.
about that. It's about the fact that is it justifiable for you to have another life which you did not have to have. It's not necessary for you to have any kind of animal product and
Hmm.
still thrive. So how do you justify it? That's the
Absolutely.
question to you. If you are not a vegan, so it's a question to you. How do you justify it?
So if I'm not a vegan, how do I justify
Mhm.
what? Uh,
How do you justify eating animal products if it's not even necessary for you to survive, thrive? There are athletes
yeah.
who are
So you
vegan.
see, yeah, yeah, yeah. So personally speaking, yeah, there is this thing. Even I have heard from few of my friends, few of my family friends, uh, that actually uh, it is seen that people uh, with the sportsmen, with the film stars, uh,
Mhm.
uh, have changed to vegan diet and are performing much better. I mean, a lot of sportsmen, a lot of film stars have done that. You know what? If you ask me personally, I tried doing that. 10 years back, 11 years back, I tried doing that, but maybe something in me did not work out because I frequently became ill. I used to have 4 days in a week of vegan diet and 3 days of non-vegetarian diet, and
Mhm.
I used to attract a lot of diseases, in the long run, and I used to become weak. If not also diseases, I used to become weak to take on the pressures of everyday life. I used to lose a lot of immunity. But then again, when I started a bit of non-vegetarian diet, a bit more than not 3 days, maybe 4 days a week. Maybe I increased one more day. I don't fall sick that more. So maybe that is one more reason, and maybe a bit of strength. But that is the only thing that makes one have maybe a bit of taste also. But that does not justify. Maybe strength is one thing. Maybe it justifies in some cases. Maybe it had been in my case, or maybe in some cases justified having flesh. Maybe you've seen some of the movies like I can name one, Dangal. There was meat being made for those girls to wrestle. So maybe
But you also
strength is
have to
one
see the
aspect.
source of the person who actually
Yeah,
suggested having it. He was not an educated person. Even an educated person
yeah,
does not know these things. Even I did not know before becoming a vegan.
yeah,
I'll tell you this.
yeah.
When this happened to you, did you go to a nutritionist?
No, I did not. That's my mistake.
That's one. And
Yeah,
the second thing is, it happened with me also. I tried to go vegan 2 years back and I failed miserably. And the reason being, I was not doing, I think, coming back to, not coming back to, going to a different topic, I think there is also a necessity for us to have a purpose, for us to have a motivation for doing something. Be it anything, be it your diet, be it your veganism is not just food. Veganism is a lifestyle. It has to be reflected on the clothing that you wear. It has to be reflected on the life that you lead. If you're not vegan, you're an environmentalist. So it has to reflect in every aspect of your life in every possible way. So it is a lifestyle, and that lifestyle change is a big thing. So if you don't have the right if you're not doing it for the right reason, which I wasn't doing it for the right reasons, I was not educated enough. Educated in the sense, I did not know the things that were happening. I did not know. I just thought, okay, I'm going to cut down meat,
yeah,
and I'm not going to have meat, and that's just going to be it. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Because
I
I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
my
Continue.
own
Yeah,
voice. So
yeah,
the point that I'm trying to make is this: that if if you don't have a proper motivation for what you're doing, be it anything, be it your diet, be it your career, be it your relationship, anything, there has to be a motivation. So
yeah,
I always tell my friends who want to know about veganism and everything, I always tell them, don't think that you are going to stop having non-veg tomorrow or today and all of that. You won't be able to sustain with that way. Because I have tried and I have failed miserably. Because you have to do it for the right reason. So educate yourself. You have to make yourself aware of what is going on inside those slaughterhouses. You have to make yourself aware of what is going on across the globe. You have to have a sense of community. There are so many vegan platforms that you can join to get the information, to get the motivation, and all of that. So I think the way for you, for example, if you started, the the first thing that you should have done is not cut back on meat. Don't do that because that is just something that you do. That is a self-sabotaging behavior. If I may, that is something that I'll tell you an example psychologically. Our subconscious kind of sabotages the decisions that we take. For example, what happens with smokers, what happens with chain smokers is that sometimes you are told that, okay, you do this and you don't have to stop smoking. Just do this and it's going to happen itself. You don't have to do anything. But what happens is the smokers consciously stop smoking. And that behavior is detrimental to the entire process. And there is, they inevitably relapse. They inevitably get back to smoking. It's a self-sabotaging behavior. So if anybody wants to go vegan, the first thing that they have to do is change the attitude, not the diet. Don't think about you're gonna stop eating chicken, you're gonna stop eating anything. Don't think about that. Educate yourself. Just the minimum that you can do is educate yourself on there are documentaries, there are researchers, there are journals, there are doctors, there are nutritionists, there are communities you can go and please educate at least even for one day if you acquire all the knowledge that you can get on veganism. That is enough for you to gradually your attitude will change. Gradually you won't see that hen on your plate as food, but just as another bird. There's a term called
Yeah.
speciesism where and I also think that speciesism is just a branch of all the other schisms that we have, like racism and all of that, because it's just
Mm.
about the power struggle. If you think about
Yeah.
human supremacy, right? Human
Mm.
supremacy is the entire point of the whole thing that um, in a certain race thinks that I am more superior than this race, or a certain gender thinks that I am more superior than this gender, so there's I can oppress it, or a certain species think that I am more superior than this species, so I'm going to oppress it. So it's a power struggle. So coming back to this, the spiritual aspect of it, uh, how do you expect? There's a question for you. How do you expect uh, peace and compassion and kindness in your world when there is bloodshed of your fellow earthlings every day, every moment as we speak?
You cannot. You cannot think about spiritualism. You cannot think about peace. You cannot think about anything for the inner conscience, connecting to your inner self. In fact, when you connect to your inner self, you're connecting to God. You cannot think of all this when you have bloodshed. When you have bloodshed, not only of animals but your fellow human beings also. So, for me, to have a connection with your own, to have a connection to the higher self, which is in you, we believe God is in all of us. So to do that, bloodshed is something which cannot be even looked at, completely avoidable,
Mhm.
because that is not spirituality. That is something else. That is war. That is
That
killing.
is torture.
That is torture. That is something else. So while we are now blending into the topic of spirituality, beautiful blending into the topic of spirituality, I also feel that people who are vegetarian, who are vegans, tend to be more spiritual than people who are still having non-veg. Your thoughts?
So I'll tell you this beautiful thought, this beautiful speech that I heard from a spiritual leader, which made sense to me, was that she said that how okay when you eat an animal, you are also eating, you're also consuming the pain, the the fear, the hopelessness, the despair, the sorrow, all of it, along with the flesh. You're also
Yes.
taking, you're also consuming the hormones that it produces just before being murdered. So
Yeah.
not only are you consuming the flesh, but you're also consuming all the negative feelings that the animal was having just before getting killed. So we have to see it that
Yes.
way. You have to understand that you're also consuming not just the flesh, but you're also consuming that negative energy, and then you're expecting that I shouldn't suffer. It's like this. When you have a food, or for example, when you sow uh, the seeds of a um, apple tree, and then you're expecting oranges to come out. How does that work? It
That
won't
doesn't
work.
work.
You're
Yeah.
consuming pain, and then you're expecting a zen-like. moment where you are all in at peace and you're all happy and you're joyous and all of that. How does that work? I don't understand how does that work, because it's just obvious basic knowledge that if you are consuming something, you get the benefits of that, whatever the benefits are, be it negative, be it positive, you get whatever you consume, right? It's like,
Yes.
for example,
Yes.
in one culture it says the karma, you get what you do,
Yeah.
what you send out of the
Yeah.
universe. So if you are consuming the pain, if you're consuming the sorrow, and then you are thinking that why am I getting hurt? Why am I always in this negative mood? Why am I in this lower vibration? Why am I always not happy? Why am I always not elated? It's because you're consuming pain, you're consuming hopelessness, you're consuming all the negative energies possible that comes out of a murder victim, and you're consuming that energy, and then you're expecting to be something more than that. That never
Yeah.
works. That will never work. So spiritually speaking,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
this is what it is. And in other, the thing is, say in the karma thing I said, then there's another thing where in another religion they say that you are having your own relatives. So
Yes.
you are basically, which is true because we are all animals on this planet, and if you're having another animal, it's just you're having your friend, or you're having your friend. Literally, you're having your friend. So that's messed up. That's not normal. It's just because that's an animal does not mean it's normal. It's we have normalized it. We have de-individualized the animals to such an extent that we take our kids to a marketplace where there's a chicken being cut, where there's a blood stream rushing down the drains and everything, and there's an open drain and there's blood. I have seen it, and there is blood, and it's normal. We're walking around, and it's okay. That's blood. That's horrifying,
Yes.
and that is the reason we have we have. Uh, I'll tell you this women uh, aspect of it that we have to this day. We still say that the menstruation blood of a woman is dirty, is not normal, it's not natural. But when we walk into a marketplace, or when you are having an animal, rotting corpse of an animal which did not want to die, that is normal. There is bloodshed everywhere. There are slaughterhouses where even if you go and stand in front of the slaughterhouse, just outside the door of the slaughterhouse, you won't be able to stand even for 5 minutes because of the cries, and that's bearable. So
Absolutely. It's so strange. Yeah.
we have normalized what's really atrocious monstrosities. We have
Yeah.
normalized those monstrosities. At the same time, we have stigmatized what's truly natural, what's truly normal, what's truly supposed to be normal. We have
Absolutely.
just messed up everything. We have normalized bloodshed, we have normalized cruelty, we have normalized, in fact, to an extent, we have normalized rape. If a cow is being raped today, I have seen footages of humans raping animals. If that is the kind of mindset people have, obviously
Yeah.
there's a baby, that baby is also going to get raped, which is happening today in today's world. So you have to understand everything is connected. Any person, this is another thing, that any person who is capable of compassion, that person won't ever be able to be selective on who I should
Absolutely.
be kind with and who I should be looking at with rage and looking at with hate. It cannot be. If you are compassionate, if you're truly compassionate, if your very nature is a compassionate one, then you will be compassionate towards everybody, be it an animal, be it a human being. Human beings are also animals, so everybody, basically. But if you are being selective, that's just you being convenient. That's just you're being compassionate towards what you think, where you think you should be compassionate because you are expecting something out of it. That's
Yes.
what I don't think that anybody who has that kind of an attitude is actually capable of true compassion. And if there is no true
Absolutely.
compassion in today's world, then how do you expect a better world? How do you expect peace? How do you expect happiness? How do you expect these problems like rape, these problems like um, all the problems, the people caring about the environment, the people caring about happiness, people caring about their quality of life. Nothing is going to happen until and unless you understand that you have to be kind first, and you're not being kind. You're not being kind to the other animal. Why do you expect other people to be kind to you? If you have the power and you are choosing, just because you can does not mean you have to. So if you have the power and you are still choosing to oppress and torture and kill somebody who is weaker than you, and then you are complaining about the authorities, you're complaining that the government is not doing anything for you. So why do you expect them to be kind to you while you're not being kind to people who are weaker than you? Isn't it a power struggle?
It is. You know what happened sometime back in Kerala, if you remember, uh,
Yeah,
what I heard, about that elephant, having that
yeah.
pineapple, and eventually it led to her death, and she was
Hmm.
pregnant, her baby also died. That was so
Hmm.
sad. Uh, I believe I heard the story. Maybe I'm wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I heard the story that initially that pineapple was kept
Hmm.
for it was meant for a wild boar,
Hmm.
and so the wild boar did not have it. Maybe it got
Hmm.
shooed away. The elephant had it. But you know what?
Hmm.
It's sad to even think that pineapple was kept for another animal, a wild boar. Even that is an animal, and it is quite an animal to see in the jungle. It is quite dangerous. It is quite intriguing to witness it, chase out foxes and all. Your thoughts on that? I mean, that thought should be there within people to not attack any animal for that matter. Not only, see, elephant is very important. We won't attack them, but hog, it's not
Hmm.
important. It is. They are also important part of the ecosystem. They're an animal.
Even a bacteria is important for our ecosystem. If a certain species of bacteria ceases to exist, we won't exist. We have to understand that
Yeah.
we don't need animals. Sorry, animals don't need us, but we need them to survive.
Opinion.
We need them
Yes.
to sustain the ecosystem that we are like vandalizing so passionately.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
my thoughts on this is that we have, just like there is an objectification of women, for example, that in the movies that we see, that atrocious behavior, objectification of women and all of that, and that has been normal for a long time. Today there are some people who have educated themselves. They have unlearned, not learned, but unlearned certain things, because of which they actually see it as it is. The same way, we have normalized objectification of animals. We have normalized de-individualization of the animals, which means that we have reduced them to products. We have reduced them to, we don't want to acknowledge even the very life in them. We don't want to acknowledge that they have a nervous system and they have sensors which feel pain. And we have stopped acknowledging everything that makes them alive. We just
Absolutely.
see them as, I mean, just products that we are supposed to consume, and then people say it's taste. So if it's taste, it means something. So at the end of the day, normally people, and mostly the most aggressive ones, say that I like the taste. So you like the taste. So if there is a court hearing and a murderer says that I murdered because I liked to murder, is that a fair? That, I mean, by that logic, it should be a fair argument that you liked what you did and that's why you did it. Is it justifiable?
No, absolutely not.
In every possible way, even
So,
if you,
yeah.
and so it is just that if you say that I like the taste, it does not mean that your taste is not more important than a life.
Hmm.
We cannot
Absolutely.
reduce a
Yeah.
life to just 5 seconds of taste. and
Yeah.
and the most important thing is there are more products right now. There is every possible product that you can think of to replace these animal products, where you can have the taste, you can have whatever you want, but at the same time, it comes with the no cruelty tag. So why not go for that?
Yeah.
Why not? So I did a
Yeah. We
poll
have
in my,
Nutrella. We have Nutrella as a night
yeah,
product. It
no,
gives you the
not only
feeling of
Nutella,
non-veg, but
there,
it's yeah.
yeah, but there are other companies that have come up with, for example, there is Impossible Foods, there's Beyond Meat, there's Just Egg, there's so much. There's Oatly. In fact,
Yeah.
these animal killing people are so intimidated now, but that they are saying that you can't call something that has been made out of oat milk, an ice cream, because ice cream is supposed to be made with milk, with cow milk, or you can't call almond milk or oat milk milk. It's juice, because you can't call it milk. Milk is this. So then, if that is what it is, then why do you have happy cows on your cover? Then why don't you have the actual picture? Just take the picture of what's happening, how you're getting the milk, what is happening, and just put that on the box, and let's see if people have it. And,
Yeah.
and the most important part is that people will justify this killing in every possible way. But if they are told to kill an animal, they wouldn't do that. It's like the
Yeah.
ostrich effect, that you're going to duck down your head inside the hole, and you're going to think that I don't know about this. As long as I'm getting a beautifully decorated platter with whatever I like, it's fine. But I don't want to see what's happening behind the doors, and I'm just going to be happy with that. So coming back to the first thing that I told you about, that um, people have this guilt and rage and all of these things stemming out of that. There's guilt. There's
Yes.
always guilt, because you know you can do something about it, but you're choosing not to do anything about it. And that is where guilt comes in.
That's
But
that's
if you
that's
do
that.
something about
Yeah.
it, if you do something about it and you think about it, so today, say you have an entire diet which is vegan, and then I tell you that I had this vegan diet and blah blah blah, and then you see the news, and then you see that meat production is doing this, and animals are being killed, and people are having this rotten flesh and everything. You will not feel that guilt or fear. You will actually feel satisfaction. You will feel an immense amount of satisfaction, because you did not have that. So on an individual level, it is just that. It is about the satisfaction. Either you feel guilt or you feel satisfaction. If you do everything that needs to be done, you feel the satisfaction. But if you don't do, but you can do, then there is guilt, and then there is aggressive kind of guilt. You have no idea um, the kind of hate that vegans go through every day, and the kind of trauma that people go through. Once, it's like the Matrix. If you've seen the movie, once you have seen the reality, you cannot go back. And then it's
Yeah.
trauma every day. When you walk into a marketplace, you're going for food, and then you see dead body parts of animals everywhere. It's traumatic,
Absolutely.
and vegans are abused. And there's a poll where they said that vegans are abused more than um, people who are abused because of their race. Can you imagine that?
Oh,
Just
it's
because of this
simply
guilt,
appalling.
just because of this rage.
That's.
So this is
I,
what is happening.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you know what? What I feel is that because of, so like I mentioned some time back, uh, if you're in a non-vegetarian, and you tend to be less spiritual, you know. Yeah, and if you're a vegan, you tend to have that higher power. You connect
Hmm.
better spiritual person. So coming on to the next topic, which is much more intriguing into spirituality and creativity. First, about creativity, then I'll come into that difference of conventional and quantum spirituality. So while we are at it, what is the difference between situational creativity and fundamental creativity? Your thoughts?
So what do you understand when I say both the terms? What do you understand by situational creativity and fundamental creativity? Let's hear what you think, and then I'll dive into it.
You see, fundamental creativity is the, this old school thought. It's the original thought about imagination. You can imagine
Hmm.
anything. You can imagine out of the box. You can imagine innovative anything. But you have to realize that is fundamental
Hmm.
creativity. You have to realize, can you execute that and bring it to reality? If you can, then it becomes situational creativity. So situational creativity is such, correct me if I'm wrong, if you can actually make it happen, make that creativity happen according to the situation or according to the execution that you want to do, If you're successful, that becomes situational creativity. So I think the creativity nowadays, what people yearn for, or maybe people think
Mhm.
about, whether it's any organization, whether it's advertising organizations, marketing organizations, government bodies, if they want to create something, situational creativity is the way to go, because until you can execute that stuff, you cannot go ahead. Fundamental creativity anyone can think about. What do you think?
So for me, the definition is a bit different. Fundamental creativity is that which is beyond imagination, and
Yes.
situational is what you have been fed for your entire lifetime, which I even believe that everything that you're saying, everything that you're wearing, everything that you're thinking is borrowed from the environment. I'll tell you an example which we had in our first year. There was a little girl, and she was kept in her in the basement. She was never exposed to children of her age or any kind of human behavior. So what happened was that the only time she saw any human being was her mother, who used to come and give her food, and she didn't even talk. She didn't even uh, interact with her. She would just give the food and go away, and that is the only exposure to human beings that she had. She was kept in the this is a true story, and she was kept in the basement. So after a while, the child services rescued her out of the basement, and she was taken to whatever support and care, child care, and then she was put into a environment with children of her age. And it took her. She was by the time she was rescued, she was 6 years old. I think 6 years old by the time she was rescued, and she did not know how to talk. She did not know how to walk. She did not know how to um, converse in any possible way, not body language kind communication or verbal communication or expressive nothing, no kind of communication, because she was not communicated to when in her formative years. And there was she did not know a single word. She did not know how to dress. She did not know anything which which we take for granted, which we know, the way we are breathing and
No.
everything. Not breathing, but we start walking, we start writing, we start talking, we start smiling, we start communicating even through our body language. We take all these things for granted, but she did not even know those things. How? The reason was that, and when she was exposed to children of her age and other human beings around her, she learned doing that in 12 weeks. She learned how to speak. She started learning two or three words, then more words, and then sentences. Why? Because she was in that environment. Nobody was teaching her anything. She was just put in an environment with other kids of her age or other human beings. She was watching her teachers, she was watching her friends, and she learned. She was not taught, but she learned. So the meaning of it all is that everything that you see around you is what is influencing your thoughts, your actions, your behavior, your conscious, your subconscious decisions and thoughts. So situational is just that hi doggy. And the situational is just that the conditioning that you live with. Even right now, you have certain ideas that is not yours. Everything that you're saying right now, even the fact that we are doing this right now, is a borrowed idea. The thoughts that you have, the beliefs that you think that are your own beliefs, and you like, this is what I am, this is what I believe. These are all borrowed thoughts. You know, so that is we have to understand that is what is also stopping us from growth. And then we have the fundamental creativity, which is beyond these conditionings. But to break free from these conditionings, we have to understand, we have to embrace an idea that there is something more to us than our body and our mind, which I learned in uh, a yoga practice where so the first thing that I heard was the the leader said that you are not your mind and you're not your body. So, and that was the end of it. And I was, what? I'm not my mind. I'm not my body. So what am I? What am I? So then there was a whole practice that we did. There was a whole practice that we did, and I want to do that
Yeah.
practice with everybody right now. So can you right now? We are having this conversation. So you're consciously listening to what I'm saying. So when you're not consciously listening to what I'm saying, and you have thoughts that hit you without you knowing, without you creating them, do you when those thoughts hit you, do you um, absorb them?
See, when I'm in a conversation with someone, maybe like now
Hmm.
I'm with you, and some other
Hmm.
thoughts come to my mind. If it's
Hmm.
pertaining to and very nicely, fits in our topic, I would raise a
Hmm.
question about that thought. But if it's something which comes and hit me, which is out of this topic, maybe I'll have it in my subconscious, but I'll not get to my conscious right now because
No,
this is
if
something
you're
which
just
we
sitting there,
are talking, and
I'm
it's
sorry
some
to interrupt you, but if
yeah,
you're just sitting there, say if you are busy doing something else, and
it's okay.
suddenly you get a thought,
Yeah,
which is not something that you've consciously created. It has just hit you. Suddenly, it just comes to you, and you observe it. Okay, okay, this is a thought. I get. I did not buy the. Um, I don't know. I did not buy the tissue papers today, or something like that. Suddenly, while you're doing some work,
ah,
which is not created
ah,
consciously
ah,
by
ah,
you,
ah.
and it hits you,
Yeah,
and you observe it. Can you observe it? Yes or
yeah.
no?
I do. It bothers me. Yes, yes. I do observe it. Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
observe it,
I do
and at the
observe it.
same time,
Yeah,
so that is the mind working, and at the same time,
yeah.
you have your body working, which again, when you're breathing, which we take for granted like crazy, can you observe the breathing? When you become conscious,
Yeah,
can you observe the
obviously.
breathing? Can you?
No, yeah, obviously. I mean, when you don't breathe, you get to know that you're not breathing conscious. You're not breathing. And that affects your thinking. So you have to breathe to
Mhm.
gain that kind of air, that oxygen that is required to think. So yeah, I do observe it. Yeah.
So the point is, I'm going to make a very quick point. The point is that if you can observe your thoughts, if you can observe the functions in your mind, and if you can observe the functions in your body, then who is observing?
Who is that?
Who is the
Who is?
observer?
I'm the observer.
You are the observer. So who is you?
I am the person who's absorbing these stuff, who is conscious about the work going on and using up the oxygen, the thoughts, and maybe I'm absorbed. I'm actually getting affected by them. So I am the one who is, maybe you can say I'm the one who's getting affected, and maybe I'll create those kind of thoughts into some kind of effect later on.
Mhm. No, I'm saying if if you think that everything about you is in your mind or in your body,
Yeah,
but at the same time you can observe the thoughts that you have not created, but it hits you and you observe them. The breathing that you're not doing consciously, but you're breathing and you're observing the breathing
yeah,
when you
yeah.
observe it. Otherwise, it's on autopilot. But when you're breathing, when you're observing the breathing. So who is observing these things? If you can observe
My
your body
my subconscious,
as a third
my
person,
subconscious,
no, that
my
is also part of
subconscious.
your brain. It is you. If
It is me.
I can
Yeah.
tell you, if it is you, which means that it is not your mind that is observing your own mind. It is not your body,
Okay.
but it is
Okay.
you. It is something within you. What is it?
Is it that higher connection to God? or higher spiritual self that is a higher, yeah,
There,
spiritual self that is
the
absorbing.
thing is that there is no high. So I don't believe there is any higher spiritual. I believe in God, but I don't believe that there is a
Yeah,
higher spiritual. We are all made of that spirit. We are. Everybody says this, and even I believe it. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience, and that
yeah,
is where 99% of the population goes wrong. They're all trying to be human beings, trying to have a spiritual journey, but that's not what it is. Just have to
okay,
lower the brightness. It is us. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience, but the thing is, we are all spending our entire lives, most of us, as unconscious people. We're not conscious
okay,
about anything
okay,
that's happening. Even as an
okay,
actor, for example, you are an actor, right? Um, there are times when you are conscious about your
yeah,
surrounding, and then there are times when you're too much inside your head.
yeah,
So it is like, for example, if you have a machine and you are the creator of the machine. So the
okay,
physical body with the mind and the body is the machine. And there is something else which you may call pure energy, or which you may call spirit, which you may call self, you may call consciousness, which is the creator of this
oh,
entire machine. Now the fact is that
okay,
the machine is equipped with the fundamental things that it requires to operate, where you don't need
mm,
to intervene. Your consciousness does not need to intervene, like breathing. It does not need to intervene. You're doing it, just doing it. It's on autopilot mode. But the moment you are conscious, the moment you're consciously observing that, okay, you're breathing, when you meditate, for example, that's when you will get to understand what I'm talking about. When you meditate, you will get thoughts which you don't want to get. Meditation is all about nothingness, as far as I know.
yeah,
So, but you keep getting thoughts which you don't want, which you have not created. It just keeps coming to you, which means
yes,
the machine is working on its own,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
are trying to connect with something else, your energy. You're trying to connect with your energy. So
yes,
the thing is that
yes,
the if your physical body is a machine and you are the creator yourself, let's call it the self.
mm,
The self is the creator. The machine cannot make any changes to the self, but the self can make changes to the machine. It can go manual
yes,
sometimes. And when
yes,
it does,
yes.
magic can happen. So the magic will only happen when you come out of that conditioning that you have been subjected to since your formative years. So
Mm,
that is what I understand by fundamental creativity. That is what you were born with, and then as you grew up, you were conditioned with all sorts of ideas. And to come out of that, you have to be conscious. And by conscious, it does not mean that you have to be just be aware of things, but you have to be aware, you have to acknowledge that there is more than your mind and your body, and that has to take over manually when required.
so you mean to say it's something like we should learn to unlearn what I've been learned. We should learn to
Learn to
unlearn
unlearn, yes. So
something of
today,
that sort.
let me ask you something. Would you, so if I tell you that in the next 1 year, you would be in Hollywood, you would be an
Hollywood,
A-list actor, Hollywood actor. Would you believe it?
Hollywood. Wow.
Would you believe it?
There's nothing wrong in believing it, but yeah, it's improbable. There's certain things that has to be carried out, and then you prepare for it, and then so you can foresee where you're going at least few years back. So yeah, the time frame required is not 1 year, it's more than that, than where I am right now. But yeah, miracles do happen. Things can happen. What's wrong to
It's not a
dream about it?
miracle. Okay, let me try convincing you that it is believable. Would you like that?
Sorry, come again.
I'm saying, let me convince you. Let me try convincing you that it is believable.
That is believable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Why not?
Yeah, it's absolutely possible. Absolutely possible if you have the effort, if you have the connections, if you have the thing what it takes to go to the grilling sessions of becoming an actor, going through the process, coming in the eyes of the people who matter, to the directors, the producers. Obviously, you can get a chance, you can get a break.
But then you're talking completely on in terms of the physical definitions of, I mean, the usual things which everybody knows. But I'm saying, if I say that tomorrow, not tomorrow, say if a year from now, you will be on the cover of Vogue USA, I don't think you would believe it.
No,
But why not?
because my, yeah, that you say, that sense, that spirit in me may not absorb it right now. Maybe it'll absorb it later. The moment it absorb
No,
it,
it's not the
maybe I'll
spirit.
get that.
No, it's your conditioning that has
Okay,
limiting beliefs. That is,
okay,
tell me something. Why is it that 99% of people remain middle class people, and there's just a certain privileged strata of the society, which is a very small amount of people that go and achieve what they want to achieve? Why is it that? Why is it so? Why can't the middle class and the poor, the underprivileged people, rise above their situations and go where they want to go?
because
Why do
maybe
you
they
think
don't
so?
believe in, because they don't believe in that, is it? I think they don't believe that
That is
they can
one. But
move up.
then the thing is, the conditioning that we are talking about right now, the limiting
Mental
belief
condition.
conditioning and all of that,
Yeah.
it happens the more the so the hardest beliefs and ideologies can hit you is from the time that the formative years, which is till 7 years of your age. That is when you will have your that is when your beliefs are formed. Your subconscious is building. Excuse me. Your subconscious is building ideas. Your subconscious is building thoughts. So till 7 years, you're already done with everything that you can think of. And after that, everything that you're doing is habit, is practice. Every decision that you're taking, you think that you're taking a decision, but you're not taking a decision. You're taking a decision influenced by your conditioning that has already happened in your formative years. So that is the reason
Okay.
a person coming from an underprivileged household is very unlikely to get to a different level, only because of the fact that they are stuck in that vicious cycle of not exactly knowing what to do, because they have seen their parents or anybody who has been with them, they have been fed lies. They have been fed lies of what is real and what is not. And that is the reason you don't believe, because you have not seen anybody um, um, doing it that quick. Have you ever seen
Yeah.
anybody doing it that quick? That today I'm at home, today I'm a nobody, and in a year I'm going to be some Hollywood A-lister. Obviously, you're not going to believe it, because, first of all, you don't know. Uh, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about generally. First of all, people don't know that there is something called the power of words. Now, that's another thing.
Yes.
Like, for example, everybody wants, nobody wants problems. Nobody wants problems in their lives, but everybody has problems in their lives. Why? It's because when you say, first thing is self talk. When you're talking to yourself, you are being extremely negative, and it's something that you can't help. It's something that is ingrained in your mind, that you're supposed to, when you're talking to yourself, you're supposed to just say, oh, you're so stupid. Oh, you can't do this. Or I am so stupid, I can never do this. Or no, I'm so scared. You're saying these things, and your brain does not understand what you're saying, whether it is true or false. Your brain only understands what you're saying, and it absorbs it. That's
Yeah.
psychology.
Yeah.
If you're saying something to yourself, your brain does not know if it's true or false. It just absorbs it
Yeah.
and it makes it your reality,
Oh,
right? So if you're saying that I'm a loser, I'm stupid, I can never get there, you will never get there.
you'll never,
And that is the
you'll
truth.
never get.
Not
Yeah.
because of the fact that you don't have the resources and all of that, but because fundamentally you're doing things wrong. It all starts with you.
Yeah.
The change starts with you. And it all starts
Yeah.
with, first of all, self talk. Second of all, unlearning the limiting beliefs. There are limiting beliefs in all of us. And you have to unlearn those things because it has become a habit. The, the decisions that we make or the people that we choose to have around us, all of these are habits that we have already um, picked up when we were kids. So all of these things are hindering you from actually walking towards where you want to go. And it's not easy to unlearn those limiting beliefs. It's not easy to be conscious all the time. I think, the biggest thing that we must do is meditation. The first thing that we start with is meditation, where you become conscious. You acknowledge that there is something more than your mind and body, and then you acknowledge it as a consciousness. So when we die, our energy. So energy can never be created nor be destroyed. It can only flow from one body to another. So if it cannot be
Yes.
created or destroyed, so when we do not have this physical body, energy is has boundless potentials. So right
Yes.
now that energy
Yes.
is within you, but the
Yes.
only thing is that it has been limited with your physical body. But that is only the physical aspect of it. The psychological aspect is still there, the which can help you. So we have to open up to something more than what we see. There's more to the eye than we see. That's the whole point of it. So, to summarize the whole thing, it's we have to understand that there has why we are stuck in a vicious cycle, why we are not being able to break out of it. Why is that there is a certain amount of certain society, there's a certain level of society which stays where there is, their kids become just what their parents were, and you stay where you are and you never get to that point. It's because of the thoughts, it's because of self-talk, because of every decision that you take is influenced by what the ideologies and the thoughts and the actions that you've picked up in your formative years from your surrounding when you were growing up. So this is what I thought think.
That's great. I mean, folks, I was actually believing, I was actually feeling that we are all being given a positive pep talk. Amazing, Donna. Amazing. That was amazing. Cool. I mean, yeah, I do believe in that stuff, and yeah, the belief should be there to make anything possible, and that is really something which takes you a long way. Yeah. Moving on. Yes. What is the difference now that we are into spirituality? Coming, what is the difference between conventional spirituality and quantum spirituality? You see, before coming on to you, I really used to think, I really used to think that the conventional spirituality is the inner conscience, the higher connection within yourself, the soul that you have, connecting to that inner self, meditating. You gain that kind of energy, that kind of thinking power, that kind of mental power. It in gives you that kind of understanding to proceed any kind of venture, work you believe in or you can take on. That is called that conventional spirituality. But quantum spirituality, something which is very, very intriguing to understand. When
Mm-hmm.
you have the word quantum, it is a very physic kind of a scientific word. It it is kind of a relation of spirituality with science. you know I so is that the difference? Conventional spirituality, what I said, the whole spiritual being, the connection with your higher self, inner self, vis-a-vis the quantum spirituality, which is the relation and the connection between science and spirituality coming together. Your thoughts?
There are two kinds of people, the
Hmm.
idealists and the materialists. Do you know what idealists and materialists are?
See, materialistic people are always very attuned to the materialistic pleasures of life. Our things, our physical things, whether it's our house things, whether it's a table, laptop, chair, furnitures, the buildings, the lifestyle we have, everything, money is, you know, and as the among the idealists are those which are, I think, a bit more in the space of spiritualness, beliefs, what could be done in a more efficient way, not being materialistic at all, the opposite of that. Your thoughts?
Hmm.
I believe. Yeah, your thoughts.
So I'll give you two examples.
Yeah.
So in my third year, I have literary criticism where you learn about work and then you uh, appreciate them. So in literature, it's not about criticism. Criticism is not what it means in normal terms. In fact, we say it's when we talk about somebody else's work, we say critical appreciation. So we're critically appreciating what they're doing. So that's a different thing. So there's a Plato, if you've heard of him. Have you heard of Plato?
But pardon?
Plato, Plato, Plato.
Plato. I might have
Yeah.
heard that word, but yeah, you can elaborate. I can relate if.
So he's a philosopher.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a philosopher, and he's a legend. The thing is that, and
Mhm.
he is an idealist. Now you tell
Yeah.
me which idea was. And there's Karl Marx, who is a materialist.
Mhm.
So idealists say that everything that you see in the physical world was first an idea, and then it was materialized. So the whatever you see in the physical world is just a replication of the imagination. Make sense to you?
Yes. Yes. Otherwise, we won't be having what we have. Yeah.
And materialists say that there is already a physical object present from which the imaginations come. So idealists say that first it comes here and then there is a physical manifestation, and materialists say just the opposite. So which one do you think is the reality?
I think the idealism. Once you have a thought, because the world may have been created by the cosmos, but human beings, after they came into this world, the world we live in now, the materialistic world, that was
Mhm,
created by the imagination of the human beings. So I think until you
mhm.
have that imagination, you can't create this world. So I think idealism leads to materialism.
Yes, true. So now the question that I asked you before. So the truth, the obvious thing is that even when there was no telephone, there was no physical manifestation of a telephone, but then it was in somebody's head, and that's how it came into existence.
Yeah, yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
So if you think in your head that I am going to be this, why can't it materialize? If everything around you is just a replication of imagination, then anything is possible, correct?
Yeah, but then again, like we were discussing in the previous question, conventional, situational creativity and fundamental creativity. So
So
maybe I was thinking
that's the
about
part.
something.
You have
Yeah,
to realize that we are idealists. Biggest or the brightest of the minds are idealists because they know
yeah.
that imagination is nothing but just uh, just a goal which is eventually going to manifest physically. Everything around you, even the shirt that you're wearing right now, is something that came into somebody's mind first. It was an imagination, which now your physical, whatever you're wearing, is the physical manifestation of that imagination, which is just replication of the imagination. Correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
So, what
Yeah.
is reality?
It's the manifestation of whatever we imagine, executing that into reality. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So come, so now coming to your question, quantum. So, in layman's term, quantum mechanics or physics says that until and unless you observe something, it acts as a wave. And the moment you observe it, it chooses a form, it chooses a definite form, and that becomes your
Oh,
reality,
oh, okay.
right? So, so there's also an experiment. I don't want to get into that really long one,
Hmm.
but what I'm trying to say is that according to quantum, it says that your reality is what you perceive. Am I being able to? I mean, am I comprehensible?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, your your reality is what you perceive. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah,
So according
and you
to
can,
so the
yeah.
definition of quantum is this that you observe something and
Hmm.
until unless you so before your observation, before you observe that electron, for example, it it has it is present in every possible state, in every possible position.
Yeah.
But the moment you observe it, it comes into one definite reality. It comes into one definite form of matter. But before that, it was a wave. So classical science says that everything is a matter, and then quantum physics says everything acts as a wave until you observe it. The moment you observe it, then it changes from a wave to a matter. It takes the form of
Okay.
a matter when you observe it. So everything that you see had multiple possibilities, but eventually, the moment you observe it with your perception, it takes a form of what you want to see.
Oh, okay. So that's how you relate quantum to spirituality.
No, that's not exactly how you relate quantum to spirituality. It's just the quantum in the definition of quantum in layman's term, as simple as possible. But then
No.
when we come to spirituality, it's all about God. It's all about yourself. It's all about the quality of life. You want to have a better quality of life. That is the reason we talk about God. Otherwise, we don't bother.
Yeah.
So in quantum, so actually, the fact that quantum spirituality has paved the way for conventional
Hmm.
spirituality to exist. It has actually proven whatever conventional spirituality has been saying for so long is actually true by saying that everything is a wave, everything has multiple possibilities.
Yeah.
And what are these people saying? These people are saying there's a consciousness, there is pure energy within you. You're made out of pure energy. You're made out of what do you say, vibrations.
Yeah.
So the thing is that fundamentally, quantum spirituality and conventional spirituality is the same. The problem with conventional spirituality is that now there are textbooks and there are interpretations. And I think we were talking about this the other day that there are different interpretations of a single line, which shouldn't be the case. So,
Yeah.
what I like to say is that religion is a man made rule book, which is interpreted by one person, and the entire population follows the person like a herd, which shouldn't be the case. It's a very personal relationship with yourself, with your God, if I may say so.
Yes.
And spirituality is the relationship with yourself, with your God. And what I like to believe
Yeah.
personally is this that there is a source which we can call as universe, which you can call as God, which you can call as anything, which is present everywhere, but which is also present in within us. And the way we are connected to that source is through the soul that we have within us, or the pure energy that we have within us, which is just like a branch of that main source. So there's this main source, and there's the branches of the energies that we have, all of us, every living being, not just human beings, every living being which is alive or which is not. Everything has a consciousness. Everything is energy. Everything around us is energy. and every energy has consciousness, just like we do. So
Yeah.
there's this main source, and then there is us, all the living beings, which has branches of
Yeah.
bits of that energy within us, which has kept us alive. That's what I believe. So that is what quantum is
That's
saying in its own terms, in scientific terms. But basically, it is just reaffirming the fact that there is there is something like the self or the soul or the spirit or the energy, which they are calling as waves, which has possibilities, all sorts of possibilities, which can be present in one place, in various places at one point of time, all
yeah.
sorts of realities. So what is reality really? What is spirituality really? So it's a very confusing thing, which is something which even right now I'm studying. And but I can tell you this: right now, whatever I know is just maybe 0.01% of it. But even on my deathbed, I can't say that I know 100% of it. This is something. I think when it comes to spirituality, the knowledge of it is so vast that you can never have a definite truth. That by the time you say that, okay, after 20 years time, I will know everything, and I will know what the truth is, because knowledge is so vast that you can never have a definite truth. It's that vast. You being a human being, you can't. So even right now, whatever I'm
Absolutely.
talking about is, even if I've read 100 books and I've seen 100 lectures and documentaries, all of that, even on my deathbed, I would be like, maybe I know 2% of it, but I can never say that I know even 5% of it. That's how vast the entire knowledge of it is. And it is something,
That's
spirituality is
amazing.
something that
That's really,
it's not something that you can read books and experience, or it's not something that you can hear somebody talk about and you can experience it. It's something that you have to experience through your own personal experience. It's a very personal thing. We all have our own
very
journeys,
personal.
our own spiritual journeys,
Absolutely.
and you have to experience that journey through your spiritual connection with yourself, with your divine energy, and all of that. It's not something that I can tell you that you have to believe that you're going to be a Hollywood star and you're going to believe it. You have to believe it from within, and you have to go through that journey to believe it, to come to that point where you have had your journey. You come to the conclusion. You realize, you get that divine knowledge, that the divine energy that wants to gift you. So you have to get your own gifts. You can never, in terms of spirituality, you can never be given it in a platter, like a book, that I write a book and this is it. Even with the religious books, millions of people can have millions of interpretations, and that is okay. It is a very personal thing, and it has to remain that way. And the moment it becomes something that I say this and this is the truth and all have to follow, that's when I think it becomes chaotic. So this is
No,
my
it's
take
absolutely
on
personal. So
spirituality.
yeah,
It's a
absolutely,
personal
absolutely,
thing.
absolutely. And I love the fact that you really want me to go to Hollywood, folks. She really wants me to go to Hollywood. So I will,
I
I will
do, I
actually
do.
believe so. So, I mean, it was very, very enlightening to hear about the spirituality that we spoke about. Now, I want to hear about what is the mission of your podcast. You're a podcaster. How is it different from internet video, and what kind of topics you all delve in? And yeah, I want to know that. And what else do you do apart from your podcast? We want to know.
So let me start with what I'm doing. So right now, during the pandemic, there was this nice channel that a friend of mine started, which is called Pandemic TV, and initially it was started to spread joy, to spread happiness, because there's so much sorrow going on, so much of distress going on all over the globe. But eventually there was this it became a huge movement where people from across, creatives, artists, all sorts of, I mean, graphic designers to editors to dancers to singers to musicians to actors to directors to producers, everybody came together and we made this into a community. And we are doing such amazing work, which is coming up. And I'm glad to say that I am the producer for Pandemic TV India. So that is one that
Oh,
I'm doing. Yes, I'm the co-producer for the Pandemic TV India. Then, as I said, that I am producing my own content, which is what basically I always wanted to do. I wanted to make good content. I wanted to make something which had some meaning, which was storytelling with a message. Because otherwise, I mean, I somehow feel that art has to have uh, a message, even if it's not a very aggressive message. It has to be a subtle message, but at the same, it has to have some kind of message. So that is there. So I'm already under two of my projects are already under pre-production. One is a dystopian thing, which also has a message. Then there's as I said, the inner conflict thing. Then there is a podcast that I'm doing, which also is it's about. So in my trailer, I've said that it's just a journal. It's a personal journal where I just talk about things that I personally care about, be it self awareness, be it spirituality, be it veganism, be it animal rights, be it anything. It could be anything, be it women's rights, or be it animals, or be it. It's just a personal journal, as I said. So a personal
Yeah.
journal would have anything and everything in it. So it's like that. It's going to be very random, but at the same time, it's going to be relevant and, of course, informative and meaningful. And somehow it might contribute to the listener in their own journey. So that is one. And then at the end of the day, being a singer's daughter, I am also coming up with a single, and eventually I'm working on an album, which also will be out soon. What else am I
Oh,
doing?
that's great, Donna.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Well, that's it.
What
You
about
can't
you?
say
What are
that's
you
it. That's
doing?
See, I'm actually professionally into advertising. And sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
get in front of the camera as a model. Sometimes I do that, but
Mm-hmm.
mostly I'm a client servicing person. I work as an advertiser. And parallelly, I have now opened this YouTube channel, which is soon going to be launched, Stealing from the Future, which really
Wow.
delves into the issues that we spoke right now, also the issues that concerns the world, apart from the issues that we spoke right now, regarding the coronavirus, regarding the world politics, regarding the unemployment, how money plays with our livelihood, how it creates a divide, how it is printed, human farming, yes, and more. So it's basically conspiracy theories and more. So yeah,
I
I'm
love
part of
conspiracy
all of
theories.
that, and I'm looking forward to the launch of this channel. So it was a fantastic conversation, Donna.
Thank you.
Folks, I would love you to, tune into Donna's podcast. Is given in the address bar over here. Yeah, you'll get more of insights of what we spoke about. Yes, my views about veganism, what we spoke about. One should actually look to not hurting animals and consume them. One should actually look to save the environment for a longevity of human and nature coexisting nicely, happily ever after. Imagine that kind of a world. And one should actually deep delve into the reality and idealism aspect of spirituality, how it progresses in life and how it is relatable to scientific norms. So it was absolutely a fantastic conversation. It blew every one of our minds, Donna, and I look
I
forward to
would
more of
also
such
suggest,
conversations.
I just request
Yeah,
the viewers or anybody, I'm so sorry for interrupting. I just have one suggestion. I would
no problem.
suggest that everybody who is watching, they can go and watch some kind of just educating themselves about animal rights or veganism or the harmful effects of consuming animals and the harmful effects of consuming animals on them physically or the environment or spiritually or psychologically in every possible way, so that they can at least know, because there are none of us know. Even I did not know. We didn't bother to know. So, in order for us to know, we have to go and at least educate ourselves, at least be aware, at least gain that knowledge, and then we can decide what to do from there. But at least know
Abs-
what's happening. Be it watching documentaries or YouTube channels or going reading journals. I mean, going and following a plant-based doctor or a nutritionist. Anything that you want to do. One second.
Absolutely,
I'm sorry.
absolutely, folks.
So that's just
You
one
heard that? Yeah,
tip I
you
wanted
heard
to give.
that. You should do that. Donna, it was fabulous. It was a fabulous afternoon come evening. We enjoyed a lot, and I
Thank
hope the
you.
viewers also enjoyed a lot. So yeah, and folks
Reminder a
also
lot.
tune in. Yeah, also yeah, absolutely. I'm a pleasure. It's my pleasure. And folks, do tune into Donna's channels in the future to know more. And also, you're looking forward to your viewership of my upcoming YouTube channel, Stealing from the Future. Bye, Donna. Bye, folks.
Bye.
Adios. Till then. Bye.